Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Canelo Benavidez, biggest lies exposed. And look, let's break it down honestly and objectively as possible. And recently, I've had a guest on my live, my most recent live, Ashy Knuckles, who's come on there, and he's one of the most biggest David Benavidez supporters there is. And this guy has come on there and told a lot of lies about David Benavidez. So look, let's break those lies down. Let's expose those lies, and let's clear all this up. Now, this is no diss at Knuckles. This is just facts over feelings. Now, the first lie was that David Benavidez has been Canelo Alvarez mandatory for 3 years. He said that David Benavidez has been waiting and he's been Canelo's mandatory for 3 years, and that's factually not true. When you look at it, according to Mauricio Suleiman, Canelo Alvarez, mandatory challenger David Benavidez, has been set in March. So he's just become Canelo Alvarez mandatory challenger. And Canelo Alvarez has not been mandated to fight him in May. Period. So even though he just became the mandatory, he's not been mandated to fight Benavidez as of yet. And not only is he not mandated to fight him as of yet, David Benavidez has not activated the mandatory status as of yet. So with all of that being said, that's yet another lie from a David Benavidez fanboy. Canelo Alvarez has not had a mandatory in David Benavidez for 3 years. That's been exposed. What is the next lie exposed from a David Benavidez fanboy is the fact that Canelo Alvarez is unwilling to fight David Benavidez. He just refuses to fight David. That's one of the biggest lies that's being told about a Canelo David Benavidez when people want to insinuate ducking. There's no ducking going on here. Canelo Alvarez has not been stripped, and Canelo Alvarez has never said that he will not fight David Benavidez. He's never shown that he's unwilling. Actually, even going back to last year off of David Benavidez, one of his biggest wins, he said David Benavidez is a good fighter, but I'm a great fighter, and I'm open to that fight against David Benavidez. He's always been open to a David Benavidez fight. And even more recently, you've seen, according to the president, Mauricio Suleiman of the WBC, stated that Canelo Alvarez, his team, and David Benavidez's team are and have been in negotiations for a potential clash. We've already seen earlier this year, Canelo Alvarez and his team offered David Benavidez the fight. So at the end of the day, we know that Canelo Alvarez has always been open to a David Benavidez fight, and that has never changed. But then let's get to the next lie. Ashy Knuckles said that, Canelo's afraid of being knocked out by David Benavidez is the reason why Canelo simply is not interested in the fight. And that makes no sense. This is just another lie. Think about this. You're talking about the same David Benavidez that could not knock out Caleb Plant. The same Caleb Plant that Canelo put to sleep. So Canelo's afraid of a guy that could not knock out Caleb Plant. I don't understand why Canelo would be afraid of that guy. It doesn't make any sense to me. Not only that, Canelo Alvarez fought a more skilled fighter in Dimitri Bivol at a higher weight, and he could not stop Canelo even when he gassed. Canelo Alvarez fought bigger punchers than Gennady Golovkin and Sergey Kovalev, and they could not stop Canelo. So at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez has fought bigger fighters. He's fought stronger fighters and even more skilled fighters, and yet he still was not stopped in any of those fights. So why would he all of a sudden be afraid of a guy who could not stop Caleb Plant? It simply doesn't make any sense. And the next Benavidez lie that the David Benavidez fanboys are reciting is that Demetrius Andrade is a big puncher, and David Benavidez proved his chin by defeating Demetrius Andrade. Now that makes no sense to me, because Demetrius Andrade, he fought Damon Nicholson in one of his most recent fights, and Damon Nicholson is a journeyman. Damon Nicholson has been stopped 3 times in his career so far, and yet Demetrius Andrade went the distance with him and couldn't get him out of there. So, but this guy's a big puncher. This guy is an elite puncher. This guy's an elite fighter. It doesn't make any sense. If you're highly skilled, highly technical, and a big puncher, you should have broke him down and stopped him like the other 3 guys did. Period. There's no excuse for that. If you are who you say you are, this is simply a journeyman. That's all this was in a showcase tune-up fight. But the problem with Demetrius Andrade is that he's a fraud. He's not elite. He's not a great fighter, and he's not a big puncher. Think about it like this. This guy spent his whole career and not fought one world champion. Not one. Has never beat a world champion, never fought an active world champion, period. So at the end of the day, Demetrius Andrade is a fraud. He spent all of his career ducking the real smoke in boxing. And at the end of the day, when you look at Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez, that's a fight that everybody wants to see. But it's clear that Canelo's not ducking. This is simply a narrative that fanboys are pushing because they have no facts.